Warning, the following communications are not authorized. Please disable your signals and report to your local re-education center immediately. Failure to comply will result in immediate reprimand and capital punishment.
We are live with Sir Ian Miles of Cheong and Eric Butler. How are you doing today, Ian? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing fantastic. I love that opening, by the way. It's fantastic.
I think it saves us, but with YouTube's new rules, maybe we don't even need it, but it should save us with any Rona stuff, and we don't really talk about election integrity, so that's the gist of it there. Eric, how are you, young man?
Amazing, thank you.
That's too good. You can't be that good. Not on this.
Hey, I'm in the free state of South Dakota, so
it's true. Worse. Ian, is there any mask mandates or anything where you are?
Yeah, there's lockdowns until the I believe the 28th. Yeah,
we're being blessed with the 28th. We're opening to the next phase 2 days ahead of time. You guys, we should be thankful. It's really blessed of them. I mean, they've got their vaccination rates up way higher, way faster than I think anybody thought, but we still can't move further ahead than
I don't know why.
Than what we're doing here. Nobody knows.
How do they pick these days? Like,
it's random.
Okay, I'm just like, it doesn't make sense, but whatever.
So the first story of the day is, of course, John McAfee, dead. Some are saying
did not kill himself.
Some are saying suicided. We'll read a bit of the article here and we'll talk about it. John McAfee dead after apparent suicide in Spanish jail after court approves his extradition to U.S. on tax charges. Now, is CNBC going to talk about how he said he wasn't suicidal or anything? Spanish newspaper first reported he's 75 years old. Wow, died within hours of extradition ruling. That's not suspicious. In Barcelona.
Oh, yeah.
In the Catalonia region of Spain. His lawyer told Reuters that McAfee Associates founder apparently hanged himself.
Just like
the prison's medical professionals attempted to resuscitate him. McAfee was being held at the Bryans 2 prison in Catalonia, Ian Miles Cheong. So he was saying, I think the last time he said he wasn't suicidal was October, and he even got a tattoo, which was on the promo image of this. What are your immediate thoughts on this? Everybody's immediately suspicious of this.
Oh, I mean, they have a right to be. It's obviously he didn't kill himself. Right now, I have no evidence to show that he did not actually kill himself, but it's rather suspicious that a man who has said time and time again since 2019, since he was sent to jail, that if he is found dead, it would be due to the fact that he did not kill himself and that he wants people to investigate it. And I think we should investigate it because, here's a man dead now, and apparently he knew secrets. He had secrets on some big people. So, I mean, whether those secrets are going to come out, whether he had a dead man switch remains to be seen. There's been some rumors flying around that he made some sort of cryptocurrency with that tag that he used, whacked. And it remains to be seen if any sort of a dead man switch is actually activated, because thus far it doesn't seem like there is. But who knows? Maybe they got to it first.
Eric, I'm going to read this tweet from last year, and then we'll get you to comment. I've collected files on corruption in governments for the first time. I'm naming names and specifics. I'll begin with a corrupt CIA agent and 2 Bahamian officials coming today. If I'm arrested or disappear, 31 terabytes of incriminating data will be released to the press. What does this say? Like Eric, he was constantly, and I'll bring up the tattoo here while you're talking. He was constantly being like, I'm not suicidal. I'll get this tattoo to prove that I'm not suicidal. What do you make of this?
Well, obviously he was trying to get out in front of it. He thought something bad was going to happen to him. Now, I guess we've come so far, though, in my opinion, that the conspiracy now is that he didn't kill that, right? So we've come full circle. So I think it's probably more widely believed, especially with what he was saying, that he was suicided a la Epstein. So at this point, we've come full circle to the point where him actually committing suicide is the conspiracy. And I think the worst thing about this is that we've sort of become, I mean, it's been normalized, right? Like people are still using Epstein didn't kill himself memes, and it's gotten so bad and I don't even really know where this ties into like the political world, but it's to the point where we've gotten used to saying that people were suicided, Arkansas, Epstein, all that stuff. It's like, how far are we going to take this? I mean, is there no more, for lack of a better term, like decency? Is that we're all used to it now that our governments, our leaders, air quotes, are so corrupt that we automatically believe they're ready to kill people. Now, obviously, I believe these people are disgusting beyond belief. But what does that say about, I guess, America and perhaps the entire world? Is that we don't even entertain the idea that maybe he did kill himself because we know that everybody's already so corrupt.
What is Arkansas? Is that Batman related?
Oh, that's the Clintons. that's when the Clintons
Arkansas.
Get to you.
Yeah, it's a Clinton body count. Look it up, guys. Look it up.
Man, I'm hilarious. Okay, here's another one from him. I'm content in here. I have friends. The food is good. All is well. Know that if I hang myself, a la Epstein, it will not be my fault. I assume he meant to say. So the evidence keeps piling up. Is there who investigates this, Ian? It
has to be Spanish and maybe Interpol, right? I don't
Exactly.
exactly know how Interpol does it, but you have to have some independent investigators there. There's got to be footage of the jail cell, unless that footage mysteriously disappears, the cameras mysteriously malfunction, the security guards mysteriously weren't there. I mean, what's the deal? How is it that a man in perhaps one of the world's most secure facilities manages to kill himself? Well, it's the same deal with Epstein, isn't it? And
just really quick, do either of you guys think we're actually going to see this? I mean, he said right there in the tweet that if something should happen to him, he's got these terabytes of information. I mean, now, how could that possibly get exposed, right? I mean, you'd have to assume that he was taken care of so things like that wouldn't happen. So how could he possibly have arranged for that stuff to get out? Will we ever see that information? Will we ever hear about that?
Maybe through his wife, assuming he gave it to his wife. But then again, he'd probably not want to give it to his wife because that would put her in danger. So either, if it exists, then he gave it to somebody else. We just haven't seen it yet. Maybe it's a matter of time, or maybe it just doesn't exist, right? There is a possibility that he's simply trolling people, and his act of suicide was his final act of trolling. I mean, the guy was a known troll.
He was a troll. Yeah.
Okay.
That would be a very method actor troll. What's with all he's got so many tweets about whales. Have you guys seen that stuff? Not legal unless you're a whale. No sleeping whales. What kind of man do you think I am? A humpback whale weighs 70,000 pounds, is 50 feet long. Do we know what any of that means?
Is that a reference to crypto, or
could be a reference to crypto? Because a crypto whale is somebody who has a ton of crypto. It's someone who has, a percentage of the total amount of crypto there is. So that probably is a crypto reference.
Eric Weinstein has something that he posted. I watched one of it's a message on Twitter from McAfee. I watched one of your interviews about Epstein. Was he connected to intelligence agency? Where did his fortune come from? Why has no one spoken with Wexler? I am more interested, however, in how he met his death and its bizarre circumstances and manipulations. Closer to home, finite time period, smaller cast of characters would be useful to have a Skype chat with him. That sort of makes me think that maybe he doesn't know a bunch of stuff, because if he's so in the know and has all these files on hundreds of thousands of, or whatever it was, a billion, cajillion terabytes on people, you'd think he'd be a little bit more in the know of what actually happened. He's not asking journalist Eric Weinstein these questions. Am I wrong to think that before we move on?
Yeah, I think you got a good point there. But again, keep hope alive. He didn't kill himself.
You know what that reminds me of, Ian? The last time we did a live stream together, I think it was like October or something. I asked you if people should still trust the plan, and you said no, definitely don't trust the plan.
No.
Would you?
Yeah, the plan turned out to be bust. Yeah.
Would you like to take a victory lap on that one?
Absolutely. I was totally right. And those people are totally wrong. They've got a new date now. They're claiming that he's going to be president again in August. Yeah. No.
Yeah, I have heard that one. Pillow guy said that first, Eric, and then there was that weird rumor that apparently he was telling, I don't know who, that he was going to be. I think it's supposed to align with the Arizona audit and what they're trying to do in Wisconsin, I believe, which has now got some county has gone to a hand recount. I mean, a lot of this, people aren't even really focusing on the recount in Arizona as I see it. I talked to somebody the other day on my show, and they're focused on getting at very least the attention of the Republicans in Arizona to actually do what they want. Not so much about doing things to overturn anything, but more so to be like, hey, you better start listening to the people who voted you in, or we're going to get together and vote you out. I haven't heard much about anything.
The only people who care about it are people on the internet, and they don't really, they don't live in Arizona, so they don't care. The people who voted those guys in, well, they want the people there to actually do their jobs. Do your damn jobs, right? Stop focusing on this election thing. Do your jobs that you were elected to do. And this would be, 95% of the Republican Party.
Yeah, I think the corruption sandcastle is just still slowly crumbling on the left and the right. Obviously, I think we all know it's a little bit more prominent. It's a little bit more obvious on the left, but it's happening everywhere. And that's what you see in these school board meetings that are happening all over. That's like the new thing. Obviously, CRT will get to that. But these people out in Arizona, I think, are just kind of the tip of the spear and like trying to maybe make a dent in this corruption that it's been around for decades. I think it was only with Trump that a lot of people became a little bit more privy to it. So I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, I've been writing about it for years.
Yeah.
Don't lie, Ian. People write your articles. That's my new theory. He's directing a room of like 7 people to get it out on all these websites. You can't see my hands. I'm doing you there. You. Moving on to, I think, Eric's 2 favorite people, Kimberly Klashik, and it's a very like Czech Slovakian name or something like that. Kimberly Klashik and Candace Owens. Candace Owens is now, and I don't know where this link is from, Eric, Barrett Sports Media. That's not the...
Yeah, it's like kind of a weird thing. It's just really not getting like mainstream news media coverage just yet. I found like one Newsweek article that was just like 2 black conservatives are, it's like, whoa, chill.
Yeah, whoa.
Like, it's Newsweek,
Yeah. Candace Owens is once again speaking out about what she believes is possible misappropriation of campaign funds by Baltimore politician Kimberly Klashik. Owens took to Instagram Live Tuesday about 48 hours after a bitter back-and-forth feud with Klashik, who is considered a rising star in the party. Klashik's campaign last year raised a whopping $2.8 million. She did not win, obviously.
Zero chance of winning where she ran. Baltimore. Like, really?
Yes, and...
if you ask me, right? If you ask me, that money should have went to Sean Parnell.
So a lot of people are sharing that opinion. They also mention, I heard my boy Vinny D, who's a young guy, so let's not be hard on him if you disagree with him, but he's saying that same thing about her and Joe Collins, who's the guy who ran against Maxine Waters. Now, I think Joe Collins got 25% of the vote, which is not nothing. It amounts to almost nothing.
It's something.
It amounted to almost 1 million people, if I agree. And he does a lot of work with like the youth and stuff there. I say the youth and stuff. This means so many things. He does a lot of work with young people there and trying to make his neighborhood better because he's actually from that district where Maxine Waters does not even live. Yeah.
That's right.
So I have sympathy for that idea, but what do you guys think? Ian, clearly you think that it could have been do you blame Klashik? Do you blame the people giving her money? What's your take on this?
Well, the way I look at it is Klashik saw a platform and she used it, right? It brought national attention to herself. Now she has something of a political career. She'll be she'll be speaking on TV shows, offering her opinion that, without that campaign, no one would care about her. So she obviously used that to her advantage. But I do blame the people for boosting her because they should have known better. It's not really her fault that they did that, but that's what they did. And money should have went to a different person like Sean Parnell. He had a better chance of winning, like an actual chance of winning. And without that advertising campaign funds, he was unable to win. Simple as that.
Eric, when we talk about Candace Owens chiming in on this, do you think it's her place to be I mean, everybody can have their opinion. I'm not saying that, but Candace Owens is a big voice. She's got her own show on Daily Wire's network. Is it her place to be being like, hey, you're doing this for the grift. You don't belong in this party sort of deal? That seems what she's doing, no?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think it is 100% her place. That's what she's kind of known for, right? I mean, she took down Cardi B. She took down Chrissy Teigen. This personality just happens to be on the right, but this is what Candace is kind of known for, right? I mean, there's like Twitter beef. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Candace. I like her. I think she does good work, but this is exactly what she does. I think her personality, her career for, is actually sort of built around kind of picking these fights. Again, I'm not taking anything away from her, but does it surprise me one bit that she's going after Kim Klacik? Not at all. And this kind of just to to move a little bit, it kind of reminds me of now we have a Tina who's in New York who just put out this snazzy new Tina for Congress ad, and it's kind of casting doubt on every single person who's now running for Congress, which we totally should, scrutinize all of these people. But do I think that Kim Klacik went out there and rubbed her head, did the Birdman hand rub and thought she was just going to cash a check? No, I think she genuinely wanted to help. She knew she couldn't win, but she had to she had to try. And of course, she also needed to make a name for herself. So I really don't blame either one of these women. I think they're both basically just trying to make a living, for lack of a better term. But I think one thing that's kind of silly, and I like Sean Parnell actually, but I think it's kind of silly to say that we could have just put this money somewhere else and then that person would have won, because I think we all know that the Democratic Party is so ready, willing, and able to cheat that if they see the money directed somewhere else, they're just going to throw their resources at it as well. So I don't really know what to make of it.
Who is Tina Ramirez? She ran, I'm looking this up, Virginia, or did you say New York?
Okay. Tina Forte.
Forte.
Like her real name's Forte, like Forte, I believe, but on Instagram she's real Tina 40. And she did all the she would always rant into her camera, like her selfie camera, like de Blasio's a dickhead and Cuomo, she was a really outspoken personality. I met her once in DC. She's, super nice. We took some selfies. And I watched her ad because it's very reminiscent. Exactly. It's very reminiscent.
She's pretty based.
She is, right?
She is. Yeah, she just says it like it is, a typical New Yorker.
Absolutely. But this kind of is very reminiscent of the Kim Klacik ad, right? If you watch the ad that she put onto that she posted to her Instagram, I watched it and I was like, oh, I wanted to move back to New York just to vote for her, right? But now with this Kim Klacik and Candace thing, I'm like, okay, before I repost this, before I go back to New York and vote for her, let me look a little bit deeper into this, which I think could do us all some good, right? If we kind of took that approach.
I think that the people who make these ads, it's the same company, I assume. It's their style. They need to change it up a little bit because it's getting a bit old right now.
And
all their ads look the same.
And Joe Collins and Kim, they have the same
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, what about Andrew Yang, you guys? Now, I've been calling Yang's policies trash for the last 4 years, I think. Increased welfare, increased taxes. I don't know how that's supposed to be a winning combination. According to Elad Eliyahu, shout out to Barely Informed with Elad, he seems to think the results just went down racial division lines in New York City. I'm not as familiar in this New York City as you might be, Eric. I can bring up the map, but he seems to think that black people voted for the one guy, socialists voted for the girl, Asians voted for Yang. Do you know much about this? Should I just bring up this map? What do you think, Eric?
Well, I don't know too much about it, but I will say, in my experience, New Yorkers are stupid. I mean,
yeah, they voted in AOC.
Yeah, they voted in AOC.
There's something about him.
Yeah,
De Blasio.
Exactly.
De Blasio.
Exactly.
Cuomo. Like, wow, you guys.
And those are the big names, right? We also have some smaller time socialist city council members, all sorts of awful people, because New Yorkers are brainwashed. I mean,
there's even fake Republicans in there, right? There's fake Republicans who are pretty much Democrats but call themselves Republicans.
Well, absolutely, because they will not entertain the idea of a Republican. I mean, they won't do it. So it's a complete mess. Now this map, is this? This is the one that.
So here's what he says. Yeah. Adams gets most black and brown outer borough neighborhoods. Now Adams is the pro-cop, pro-gun guy, I believe.
He is not pro-cop, and he is not.
Am I thinking of somebody else?
No, he used to be a cop. He used to be a cop.
Well, okay. Here, I have a personal bone to pick with Eric Adams because he last year in what some people will never quite understand, we dealt with fireworks terrorism in New York. I mean, these things were going off all hours of the night. Before the sun even went down, all the way until 6 or 7 a.m., people had what I can assume is millions of dollars worth of fireworks across all 5 boroughs. And Eric Adams was very in the defund the police camp at that time. Of course, things do change, and I'm not going to say that he doesn't have a right to change his mind, but he specifically went out and said, when your neighbors are lighting off fireworks, again, I don't think anybody will ever understand how bad this situation actually was, but he went out and said, well, if your neighbors are lighting off fireworks, you don't need to call the cops. Don't call the police. They're not going to help the situation. You should go talk to your neighbors. And famously, one woman was shot 8 times and killed because she approached her neighbors that were lighting off fireworks in the middle of the night when her dog couldn't sleep. So
I remember that.
Yeah. So the point is, he is more tough on crime now because crime has actually gotten worse since last summer. But that is not real. They go with whichever way the wind blows. At that point in time last summer, right after George Floyd, he was just as much as defund the police as the rest of these crazy idiots.
Mm-hmm. So here's what else he said. Wiley does well in the gentrifying areas of Brooklyn and Queens. So this is that black girl who was very pro defund police, even though at the last minute she said that she wasn't. Cutting $1 billion apparently isn't defunding them. Catherine Garcia, liberals in Manhattan who read the New York Times, and Yang gets Asians and Jews in Brooklyn and Flushing. It's weird how I've never been to New York and I recognize all the names of everything, Flushing and
too much TV.
Yeah, really. The Simpsons episode where they go to
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld, of course. So
yep.
I didn't expect anyone to vote for Yang. He's so vanilla. I don't understand. Alex Jones thinks he's a plant. I don't know where the idea gets from. I guess I just wanted to rip on Andrew Yang a little bit before we move on.
Yang, it's not even entirely his fault, right? Some of it has to do with his team. Did you know that Dave Chappelle offered to do free publicity for him to do, like a live show promoting him? Yeah, he did. He offered the team that. He offered Andrew Yang that, and the team decided they were going to turn him down because he's too controversial. Too controversial. Keep in mind, this is the Andrew Yang that, for when he was running for president, everybody loved him. Right? You had the Yang Gang people. You had all these very fringe people who were supporting him because, he would just say it like it is. And that was, I guess, a different team. But with his new team, they were like, oh, you got to steer away from controversy. You got to be more mainstream milquetoast, right? You got to be a Democrat. So he ran on this terrible platform, not really having a message, nothing clear. And, he lost. I mean, in addition to the fact that, his opponents were better at messaging, obviously. I think Adams, in particular, was good at reaching out to the black community, which is seeing sky-high rates of violent crime, and he recognizes that. He hears the complaints, and they're saying, refund the police. So that's where he's going, and maybe he'll do something good if he wins, right? But with Yang, on the other hand, it's like he didn't even know what he was saying, right? He had no message at all.
Well, I think just really quickly, early on in that campaign, I think it scared me when I was still in New York, and he went a little heavy-handed on the weird techno-fascism, we're gonna of course they already have the Excelsior Pass and all that stuff, but that was a huge turnoff for me, and I think even some people on the left are not on board with the Guardian state the apps and the tracking. And I mean, I don't want to do the everybody does the yellow star and stuff, but it was actually really quite similar to that early on.
It's like China. He has a social credit system. It was on his 2020 plan, right, where he proposes a social credit system. I read it and I was like, that's 100% China. Now we're not talking about the Uyghurs in Xinjiang, right? But in China in general, big China, outside of Xinjiang, that's the exact system that they use. And he was actually proposing it. And, I guess you could argue it's a good idea, but who really wants to live under that sort of tyranny? It is tyranny. Let's make no mistake about that.
When there was a big Yang Gang push, I was just like, please just go to his website and read his policies. And he's not special. He's not offering much different than the rest of the Democrat pool of candidates there. I never got it. And the Dave Chappelle thing, that's crazy. Now, I don't agree with Dave Chappelle's politics. I was clear on that one during his Candace Owens stand-up special.
It was terrible. I saw that.
Yeah, in the forest or wherever it was. But to turn that down, if you're Andrew Yang or Chappelle's people, you said turn it down?
No. Yang's people.
Yang's people. It makes no sense. And like, I don't know, maybe it was probably because of his Netflix special where he talked about like the LGBT people in the car and the trannies always trying to pull them off.
The alphabet people.
The alphabet people, exactly.
He had the Asian joke.
Alphabet people special. Yep.
Right. He in addition to the transgender joke, he had the like, oh, I'm a black man or I'm an Asian man trapped in this black body or whatever. Like,
that's the one.
Yeah,
it's a funny joke. Yeah.
I liked that special. I mean, that was a good special. The Forest special was not good.
No, moving on to woke.
I didn't see the Forest one. So
it was woke as
hell. It was just all like, I've never looked into this at all, but Candace Owens is the worst person ever. George Floyd is God. It was
it was really campaign. Bad. And everybody's all masked up, sitting socially distanced, that's 6 feet apart on tables out in the forest in the middle of nowhere. Right, you got the cars parked somewhere.
They should have done it in a hangar like Caitlyn Jenner, right, Eric?
Oh, my favorite.
My hangar is to fit all these people on my property.
You're going places.
With my accents, yeah, I should have been an actor.
I just got to say one more thing on Andrew Yang. His biggest proposal is universal basic income. But as we all know now, right, with the pandemic, they've been giving out stipends and allocating free money to people who refuse to work. Yes, refuse to work, not because there's no jobs, but they simply outright refuse to work. I think we can safely say that the universal basic income experiment is a complete failure.
Absolutely.
It is. They even wanted to do that in Ontario, Canada before. They gave up they did it in one city. I should look it up, but they did it in one jurisdiction and they gave up on it after like a year because it wasn't working at all. They were giving people, I think, who made between like 50, don't quote me on this, but they weren't completely impoverished. They made like 20 to 35 grand or something like that a year, and they would give them a supplemental like $1,500 or $1,000 a month, and didn't work out. What do you know? Critical race theory is something that we're hearing more and more people stand up against in school boards. There's a guy on Tucker Carlson the other day getting arrested for not shutting up. The tactic that a lot of the school boards are using is to just end the meeting and hope that it disappears. But wish stuff like this would happen in Canada, but it never will. So it seems
pastor. You got the pastor.
Yeah, we got to arrest more pastors, I think, is the message here. Google's artificial intelligence. This is from the 18th, almost a week ago. Building on critical race theory documents show, and we know they're trying to put it in back into the government for like diversity training, but Google's artificial intelligence work builds upon critical race theory documents show, best described as a form of race essentialism that demands its inherent recognize and identify race-based oppression in every interaction. So every interaction, Ian, has oppression in it.
This is racist. I mean, this whole
podcast is
completely racist. You talking to me, racist. Me talking to you, that's also racist.
I'm a white man talking to an Asian guy and a black guy. I'm pretty sure I'm oppressing you guys right now.
Speaking over us, oppressing us, hosting the show. You racist.
I do feel oppressed.
Whoa, this is really turning on me here, guys. I don't know how this happened.
That's your white fragility speaking, turning on you.
There's an excuse for everything. Own up.
You got to unpack. You got to unpack that invisible knapsack. Okay, that's your privilege speaking.
Decenter yourself, I think, is what they say.
Yes.
What is the correct answer I'm supposed to give?
You're supposed to just shut up and Venmo is $50 each. Yeah,
that's the thing, right? There is no correct answer. That's the whole point of this: is that you can't win. You cannot win. I'm only lucky to be, trust me, like, and I don't even look. I don't really consider myself conservative, right? Like, common sense.
You might as well be.
Common sense is now considered conservative, right? Like, that's how far we've come. And the bottom line is, There is no right answer. You see it with the CRT stuff. You see it with the LGBTQ. Just a week or so ago, I look at a post on Instagram of some advocate who is mad that the corporations are doing rainbow, their rainbow capitalism thing that they do. And it's just like, you won. Yeah, you won. You have Bank of America, Wells Fargo, NFL, NBA, everybody is bending the knee to you. And you're like, well, we can tell you don't mean it. It's like, well, you can't win.
There's no
and
winning.
If they didn't,
it's a self-destructive ideology.
It will never end.
They will destroy everything around them, and then they will destroy themselves. I mean, these people there's no such thing as being too woke. They do purity policing. They go after each other. One of them says something out of line, right? Just one thing out of line. Like, I mean, they're canceling the actor who played the bad guy in Black Panther. Right, that's happening right now because he made a brand of rum, right? And apparently the name of it was some sort of cultural appropriation of some culture that I don't know what it was. Maybe it was Haitian or something. And they got offended by it. They're like, you are culturally appropriating these people. Apologize now.
And you see with Lin-Manuel Miranda?
They're going after him. Yeah, they're going after the all POC cast of that other that movie, right? That he made. The casting director was also attacked. He was an Asian man, and they were like, "There's not enough dark-skinned black people here. There's too many light-skinned black people here." Okay,
it's crazy.
We know how Eric feels about that, don't we?
I got I was blessed with this nice caramel time.
You're white adjacent, Eric. You're white adjacent now.
You're white adjacent. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look up that morbidly obese woman who says white people are evil. So please send me.
Ashley Shackelford.
Oh, okay. That sounds like a fake name. Rusty Shackelford.
Oh,
Ashley, not Rusty.
Is that from King of the Hill or The Simpsons or something? Rusty Shackelford.
Yeah.
Rusty Shackelford. You know what I learned today was that Dale, the neighbor from King of the Hill, is based off of Alex Jones.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Alex Jones used to be a big deal, but I mean, he still is. He's bigger now than he was before. But back into the 2000s, right? He was a character in that one movie, the Richard Linklater movie. The one,
Scanner Darkly?
Scanner Darkly, not Waking Life. Yeah, Scanner Darkly. Yeah, he was in that. He was on his bullhorn.
See what this poem is.
It's amazing.
There's supposed to be a poem attached to this. Okay, we're going to read her poem, you guys.
Oh, no.
It's not very long.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's a white people. When they leave and take our faces off the screen for this. When they leave and take everything you gave them. When all your labor are only planted seeds in their garden. When it's all said and done, going to sleep is the hardest part. It reminds you how empty you are in dead silence, how suffocating it is when you try to breathe to stop from drowning. I can't read this. After you set yourself on fire, you gave every ounce of energy. Good spelling.
Yeah, wow.
Lady. Yeah, after you bled yourself dry.
That's why she's so tired. She's tired all the time. I mean, this is why these wokies are always tired. Have you noticed that? They always complain about how tired they are. They're like, I'm so tired. I'm fatigued. I'm exhausted. They love that term, exhausted. They're always exhausted.
They don't even work.
They don't work. All they do is complain online, right? And they call it their emotional labor. Please pay me for my emotional labor. $50 to my Venmo. Like every single time. And then you try to ask them, what do you mean $50? Can you explain this concept to me that you just threw out? And it's a word that I don't understand. They're like, don't expect me to educate you. Educate yourself.
Yeah. That famous clip of Dave Rubin talking to the audience where they're shaking coins in a jar. See it there. And then she's just like, you don't give us time to talk about our lived experience. You're just up there talking. He's like, well, it is a show people came to pay to see me speak. But here, you tell your story. And she says, you'll have to pay me for my emotional labor. And he takes a 20 out of his pocket, and she still won't do it. No. So he's just giving you what you want. It's break time for you guys. Take you guys off the screen so you can, drink Tim Hortons like I do. I know you guys don't have it where you are, but we'll go ahead and pay some bills here. Eric Butler's book, New York Gotham City Unglued, is available on Amazon.com and .ca. That's how I bought it. You don't want the Kindle version. You want the hardcover version. It's got all the great pictures, such as man in bag. You don't know if he's alive or dead. man sleeping on Subway. So many good things. I still haven't gotten all the way through it. My favorite photo that I always show people, is it tires stored away for the summer? Is it a corpse? Is it garbage? You'll never know unless you buy it on Amazon.com. New York City 2020 Gotham Unglued. Hardcover, of course, because we're not Kindle readers around here, are we? Andrew says fans. Still great. Ian Miles Cheong started a new YouTube channel. If you're wondering, he's still got the old one, Hype Break, but he started a new YouTube channel called Still Gray. Go ahead and subscribe. I found his production quality to be extremely good. I wish I had a camera that worked this well. And of course, Andrew says on Rebel News, we just passed 9 o'clock, so we're hoping my show's there. And I'm not embarrassed. It is there. Hollywood is designed to control the narrative. Its programming, says Samara Armstrong. You may remember her from the show The OC. She's from Entourage. She was from Sons of Anarchy. Got killed in that one. But we talked about a lot of good stuff. She's one of the people down in Arizona fighting against the Republican Speaker of the House there. He's not really pulling his weight. We also talked about, coronavirus protocols in schools, stuff like that. So if you want to go to rebelnewsplus.com or just go to the main page, go to Andrew Says, you'll find the show there. Just launched. You'll have to pay $8 a month for the exclusive segments. And I will bring you guys back now because that's how good of a friend I am. Eric Butler. When was the last time somebody said you encountered somebody with your opinion and they're like, how come you believe that way? You're not white. Why do you think that way? When was the last time that happened to you?
At the Save Teddy Roosevelt Save Teddy's statue rally in the upper, I always forget if it's the east side or the west side, but at the Natural History Museum in New York City, where of course the clip later went on to be on Tucker with Vicky Palladino. And it was just young kids. It was young kids. Like, not famously, but one image that's burned into my head is one of these BLM kids with a sign. There was 2 of them, actually. One of them had a sign that says, "Your racism is bad and you should feel bad." I still have the receipts for that. It just blew my mind. He wouldn't talk to me. He wouldn't explain himself. He wouldn't explain himself to me. He just kept pointing at me and said, "You're black." And I was like, dude, I know. And then there was another kid across the street, the one that tried to like attack Vicky, I guess, who had written the letters BLM on like the inside of a pizza box because that's how much respect these kids have for the movement. So to answer your question, that was probably just about a year ago, last summer, when this kid like couldn't believe that I was not offended by a statue of Teddy Roosevelt outside of the Natural History Museum.
Well, the reason I wanted to bring that up is because the next story I wanted to talk about a bit was Bryson Gray being banned off of platforms. People are always like, "Oh, you like Trump," and all this stuff. The usual stuff. He was banned, not banned. He had a song deleted by Spotify just the other day, I think yesterday, if not the day before. It's a Safe Space song featuring Patriot J. As you can see here, screenshot. It's actually
Patriot J.
Yeah, me too. In fact, he's one of my most I'll get to that later, that website I was talking to you guys about. But Safe Space, not on there. His whole album's on there. He gave me a good answer. It is what it is, which is an answer I love. Now, I started investigating this, and the company TuneCore is who represents Bryson Gray. I was trying to find out before I wrote this article who else has been banned from Spotify. Has anyone had their music taken off? And there is some Christian musician. He's described as not a pastor, but a faith something. Regardless, TuneCore wouldn't distribute his album digitally. They said, we're not putting it out to all these programs, which is what TuneCore does, gives it to iTunes, gives it to Spotify, etc. So I was like, maybe it's TuneCore, but Bryson says it's not them because he's still on the other platforms. So basically, Spotify told him that it was his distributor. His distributor said, no, it was Spotify. Spotify didn't give a reason. He's not back on there yet. Now, if we go back to today, the song has been taken off SoundCloud now.
Now that's crazy. That's
weird.
Yeah.
SoundCloud of all things.
Yeah.
What were the lyrics in the song? I mean, why ban this?
Because
You make fun of
I don't
trans
know about
people.
SoundCloud.
The Alphabet
Yeah,
Brigade.
he talks about trans people. He says they're crazy. He
No, that's
says
why.
you give gay people too much leeway. So we know Spotify had problems with Joe Rogan talking about
They
trans
did.
people. So I'm guessing that's what the problem is here. But here's the weird, reason Spotify or SoundCloud gave that makes it. They blows everything out of the water. You must not use the platform to upload, post, store, transmit, blah, blah. Anything that is abusive, libelous, which they spelt wrong, defamatory, pornographic, obscene, and promotes or incites violence, terrorism, illegal acts, hatred on the grounds of race, ethnicity, cultural identity, religious beliefs, disability, gender, identity, sexual orientation, or is otherwise objectionable in SoundCloud's reasonable discretion. So, something that's
weird.
defamatory, pornographic, obscene, incites violence, contains legal acts or hatred.
Wait. Incites violence?
Is this not 99% of rap songs? And I'm saying
It
that
is.
not to say,
Yeah.
let's take them all down. I'm saying, is this not? Bryson doesn't even swear. I mean, I guess you can make the argument that this is vulgar material he's presenting, but he doesn't swear. He's openly, extremely Christian, follows the Bible to a T.
There's music with sex sounds in it that are on SoundCloud. They don't take those off.
Look, I go back
there's
to this
music from the
time.
70s about sex, and drug use.
I'm talking literal sex sounds that are on there. Yeah. And that's pornographic, right? And that's okay, apparently, because that's art. I mean, yeah, obviously it's art, so it should be fine. But they're taking this off. They're making an exception, basically, and saying, oh, we're going to enforce our rules. I mean, this is the problem with having too many laws, right? Because the laws, 99% of the time, they're not going to be enforced. The people enforcing the laws don't care. They don't have the time for it. They don't have the inclination. But the instant you step out of line, you say something that they don't like, and they don't like you personally, they're going to use all those pre-existing laws, the ones that they refuse to enforce 99% of the time, and they're going to use it on you.
So,
Eric, aren't they, like, can't you just make the argument now every single time that something like, well, you took him down for this. Why aren't you taking down, let me see if I can name a vulgar rapper. Young boy never broke again. How about that?
NBA young boy. Okay, look, I got a better example.
Young boys.
A better example, and I think I used this a couple weeks ago, but it's truer today than it was a couple weeks ago. Pooh Shiesty out of Memphis, Tennessee, I believe. This man got big. He got hugely famous, pushed on. I mean, he had billboards in Times Square for a song called Back in Blood, which was quite literally about him robbing a foe, an enemy of his, and he says, I took this stuff from you, you can come get it back in blood. They talk about shooting up a nightclub. Fun fact, Pooh Shiesty is still in jail right now awaiting trial for shooting up a nightclub. That is a hit song. You could probably look at go to like a hip hop, a rap Spotify playlist right now, and it will be at the top of the list. This thing was through the roof. He's literally talking about murdering and stealing from people and shooting up a nightclub, only to, months later be arrested for shooting up a nightclub, and none of that stuff is banned. But Bryson, I haven't even heard the song. I don't even know where I can hear it now. And obviously this has sort of a Streisand effect where, of course, you want to hear it now more than you did before. I wasn't really, I like rap music. I like look, I'll be honest with you. I like a little drugging and thugging, right? I could listen to Future, like I don't mind that stuff. It's for the same reason that I could watch, Johnny Depp sell, pounds of cocaine in the movie Blow. It's entertainment, but it's crazy that you can have a guy become a millionaire off a song that he wrote about robbing and killing people. Nobody cares. They love it. They're bouncing their booties to it. It is pumped through every single urban radio station, I'm sure, across the country. But Bryson and Patriot J, who probably reach a fraction of the people that Pooh Shiesty has reached,
well, let me tell you something.
Spotify?
Couple crazy things about that. Here are the stats right now. I believe the one on the left here you're seeing is Amazon. His album is now number 4 in the US for rap albums.
Not bad.
This one is iTunes, number 7. He's up here with J. Cole, this Polo G I've heard of, Lil Baby, Migos, all these people. And this is at how much purchase you can't see there, but on this one is $9 US. So this is vaulting him, to use a tired expression, to the moon. And I'll tell you something else crazy about this. removing of his song. When I was looking up who's been banned, they did not, or which is nobody. People mentioned a couple names of artists I've never heard of that are small. One that I looked to wasn't actually banned, but what they seem to do to people at Spotify is they take them off their official playlist. So there's a country artist who got caught saying the N-word. There's R. Kelly, who we know what he did allegedly. You guys, come on. And another,
you know, there's a group that champions him, says R. Kelly did nothing wrong. They just march around in Chicago. Yeah, no, like his supporters, his fans.
Oh,
that's his actual fan base. They march around in real life carrying signs saying R. Kelly did nothing wrong.
And there's a third artist who's dead, XXX Tentacion. For some reason, so what they do with these people, they remove their songs from their official playlist, so you can't find it in like the sponsored playlist by Spotify or the people that for some reason are paid to have playlists on Spotify. They take them off there. I couldn't find anyone, especially somebody who's in the top 100 artists in the country, who's been actually had anything removed. And you got to think that this is Blue Hair Department doing their worst.
Absolutely.
So it's crazy. Hopefully it's vaulting them up the ladder. It seems to be, but iTunes and Amazon could be next. I think somebody openly narked on him about SoundCloud, so that could have been one of the reasons he tweeted about that. I don't know. I think Bryson's a good guy. I think he's got his beliefs, so you're not going to change them. And if what he's saying is illegal or against the rules, then you have to say that the Bible, you can't talk about that in public. If that's the case, it's going to be.
Yeah.
Look, just to take this outside of the realm of music, right? Like, think about how much different things would be if we weren't constantly dealt with. I mean, for at least the past 4 years, it's been nothing but nonstop censorship, right? And we all know that back in the day, the left used to be against censorship, but obviously things have morphed into this weird thing. But think about like how different everything would be if they didn't just mold us into like. People are constantly pushing back. And does it ever get to a point? I mean, now we've gone so far, right, that you can't have a bunch of Democrats and media personalities say, all right, they're never going to throw their hands up and say, you guys win this round. They're going to keep pushing it further and further and further until there's literally nothing left. And I don't see any way out of this, unfortunately.
Me neither. I mean, this was happening way back in the 2000s, like late 2000s. You saw it on Tumblr, the rise of Tumblr. Essentially, you know, like the colleges used to be a kind of a quarantine zone, right, for all these wokies. You know, it didn't escape college because once you went to the real world, people wake you up. They'd be like, what the hell are you talking about, right? Yeah. Shut the hell up, right? Do your job. And then Tumblr made it a kind of like a fad, right, where people would start creating these brigades to bandwagon bully people, right? And that bleeded into Instagram, into Facebook, into Twitter, and Tumblr essentially, when it got shut down more or less. I mean, it's still active, but they banned a pornographic section, right? You can't post porn in it anymore because of moderation issues, and this is their fault entirely. Once they banned that, all those people migrated over to Twitter. And what's on Twitter? Well, it's journalists, corporations, people in the know, right? Even though Twitter only gets like 1/10 of the traffic of Facebook, it's still more influential because of the people using it. I mean, Donald Trump is a prime example of that. And so when Tumblr bled into Twitter, Twitter became Tumblr, and real life bleeds, Twitter bleeds into real life. And so now you have the Tumblrinas, they're running the world. It's like the insane asylum being run by the inmates.
Yep,
basically.
absolutely.
It gets worse and worse. These people, there's no end to their wokeness. They're terminally woke. There's no end to it. It's just constantly trying to push the boundaries. I mean, like right now, did you see there's a new report now that some colleges are banning the word trigger warning or the words trigger warning. They're claiming it's triggering, right, to people who've experienced violence. Yeah, it doesn't stop. It eventually, you won't even be able to, point a gun sign or whatever at the camera. They'll say that's an act of violence. I mean, you can't do this anymore, right?
It's just true.
I'm doing it anyway.
There's illegal. This is illegal. Stop Asian hate,
totally
please.
Canceled.
Stop Asian
totally
hate.
Canceled. Yeah.
Eric's pro-Asian hate. Moving on, there's a website.
He's a white supremacist, don't you know? Yeah.
I heard that. I read that on his blog.
If you look at my Twitter account, when you look at my Twitter account, all I do is complain about white supremacists.
There's a website making the rounds that I wanted to talk about. It's called Blindspot by Ground News. Now, Apparently this sponsor is Tim Pool, but I wanted to show the inherent bias in this, even though, it's a fun little thing. People are now using it as a way, like, we'll check people's bias by who they, conservative leaders in Canada, at least one of them has tweeted out, see, look how neutral I am, but it doesn't make any sense inherently. So for the Rebel News account, it has 94% right. And what you'll see is social media guy Yankee Pollock, reporter Sheila Gunn Reid, reporter Osriel Avi Yamini. That's it took me a long time to realize what that meant. Aussie and Israeli. You can see Rebel News must only interact with right-wing people. Well, it's because it's retweeting its journalists and its people. And then you got Sheila Gunn Reid, who's half Democrats interacting, or left-leaning people. And that's because she's retweeting them to make fun of them or to disagree with them. So inherently, it doesn't make any sense. So we can just use me as an example, and we'll see that I'm heavily biased, 80% right. And this is what I mentioned Patriot J for. Apparently, I interact with him a lot. And apparently, I must interact with Doug Ford a lot. And I interact with Rebel News, who's so far right. Like, people I work with, and me ripping on Ford Nation. And then my news sources are my employer and other Canadian outlets. So I just wanted to point out that whilst fun, I don't know, Ian, do you want me to do yours, or are you afraid?
Yeah, go ahead. I've seen it. I saw it last week. It's like 91%, right? Yeah, because all I do is tweet out conservative news outlets.
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's just like, who do you... It should have something like... what type of interactions you have with these people or something. This is literally just
basic.
We've decided who is what, and we're going to give them a rating. Now, there's also a website I couldn't remember the name of where they grade outlets on whether they're left or right, and I couldn't remember the name of it, but I imagine that's the same thing where it's like Politico is right down the middle. It's like, who's deciding this? Like, give a time of table of people who are, we're the unbiased 5, and we will determine which bias is correct and which isn't. It's pretty ludicrous. Let's finish on Joe Biden.
So just really quick. I'm sorry.
Okay, go
so
ahead.
This is obviously just going to be used as a weapon, right? Like that's what this sounds like. Because in 90 days, everybody's going to be far right except for WAPO and see this is just a whole nother thing so that they could just label people with the label that they want to, and basically turn them into terrorists. This is insane, dude.
It is.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm going to do some quick downloading after I bring this this article up. Biden saying you need F-18s and nukes, because I want to get to some of the videos Ian tweeted out today of Biden. And everybody says Biden's losing his mind, and I agree that he is. He's got it. Poor old man. He's got mental deficiencies going, but some of the stuff that he was doing today is just like he's literally losing his mind.
ASMR. He's like, I'm doing ASMR.
Yeah, that's the one I want to play. So, Eric, do you want to comment on this First Amendment argument he's making, where it's like, well, you don't have nukes and F-15s. What's the point of having regular guns? What's the point of having an AR-15 if you can't actually overthrow the government? What is this argument?
What's the point of defending yourself? What's the point of defending yourself? What's the point of doing anything?
There's so many things wrong with this, right? Because we've heard for the last 6 months that nearly completely unarmed mob almost overthrew the government in Washington, right? So
yeah.
Okay, so is that possible without any guns? And then they also want to get rid of the guns, right? So they're going to use every single story of violence in Chicago and New York and LA to say that you don't even need a gun, but then they're going to say those guns aren't going to work for you anyways. So none of this adds up. And this comes on top of him at his little joint address saying that we the people are the government. And I mean, all these sort of totalitarian things that I'm not even sure if he knows what he's saying, who's writing for him, who's putting these words in his mouth, but obviously none of it makes sense. Kamala, and then I was watching this clip. Forgive me because it's old. It's a clip of Barack Obama. I just saw it on Instagram earlier today, actually, of this guy who was playing a clip of Obama saying that people were too simple, that the general population was too simple-minded to handle their own affairs. So this is obviously the next logical step, right? Like we're going to take care of you completely. We're going to give you stimulus checks. We're going to cut these for families, whatever, children under 18. I mean, it's just, it all makes sense. I mean, there's no more Democrats. I mean, these people are
authoritarians.
What happened to the, now perhaps it's always been like this and Donald Trump kind of came in and tore back the curtain. Maybe it's always been like that. You can talk about
look at FDR. Look at FDR. I mean,
Ruby,
FDR
exactly.
Wanted to give everybody, socialism, right? And even before him, you had even harder Democrats, like the guy that they keep citing, Huey. What's his name? Huey something.
I don't know.
He used to be the governor of Mississippi. He was the most corrupt governor of all time.
Ooh,
that's don't worry. I'm a fact checker.
They made a movie about him, all the Kingsmen. Why can't I remember his name?
Is it Huey Long?
Huey Long, that's it. Yeah, like there's like a resurgence of Huey Longists now, and it's strange because you see this group of like far right people who are supporting him and far leftists who are also supporting him. You got these Marxists who want his stuff, and then you got the people on the far right who like his populism. So you got Marxist populism coming together, and it's like, what is wrong with you people? He was so corrupt. I mean, this is a guy who when he was in charge of Baton Rouge, right? He built a gigantic. When he was a governor, he built a gigantic bridge not a gigantic bridge, but a low bridge to stop traffic from going to some other city, so that they could all go to Baton Rouge, where he had investments in the oil sector. So that's how it came up. I mean, this guy's corrupt as fuck.
It sounds like Joe Biden. I mean, obviously, Hunter's selling paintings now. Nobody's going to wave the flag on that.
He's an expert on everything. He's an expert on art. He's an expert on watches, expert on business and oil and energy. I mean, the guy's an expert. Who are we to question him? I mean, he makes $50,000 a month, right? So, yeah.
He was assassinated, this Huey Long guy. Assassinated on September 8th, 1935.
Yep. Kudos to whoever did it.
A National Historic Civil Engineering Landmark. I don't know if we're going to find enough stuff about it being...
Oh, it's too much. It's too much. Yeah. You got to read the books. You got to read the books, watch the movies,
I don't read books.
Wikipedia is not going to shoot you straight anyways, I feel like.
Yeah.
Men don't read, Ian. Everybody knows that, okay?
We just get our information off of YouTube, sound bites, clips, Ben Shapiro videos. He owns a college kid, and that's where you get your facts from. Yeah.
In the name, Boy Scouts. That's the one.
Before we go, let's indulge in some Joe Biden. This one, I think you can show to a regular person and be like, what do you make of this?
I got them $1.9 trillion relief so far. They're going to be getting checks in the mail that are consequential. I wrote the bill on the environment. Pay them more. This is an employees bargaining chip now. What's happening?
So condescending. The fact that he says it like that.
Yeah. Even if you note the fact that these are cut together, why is he answering like that for 5 different questions? He looks like he's about to explode and yell at somebody. So this is what he's resorting to. Don't you get it? And they still want to kiss his ass.
He does that sometimes. There is a video where he's whispering like that, and then immediately after, just a second after he whispers, he yells. This guy is just out of control. I mean, there's something wrong with his brain. I mean, he's sundowning right there.
Eric, do we want normal. President Kamala?
Oh my God. This is
the first female president, the first Indian American president.
And no one voted for, less than 3% of the vote.
Yeah. She didn't even make it to the Iowa caucus. And like our buddy Rob from a couple weeks ago said, it's like choosing, vomit or poop, right? It's like, Jesus Christ. This is awful, but I don't understand. I mean, this is obviously he's sundowning. This is elder abuse. I mean, Jill Biden deserves a jail cell for herself for letting this man running into the wall like this. I mean, nobody stepped out and said this guy. I mean, come on, we can see you, bro. We can all can see
the power is more important.
The whole world sees you.
So we all see it. But was he under the impression? I think Joe Biden was genuinely under the impression that this was going to be pre-Obama era, all the old school corruption where nobody was going to question him. And Kamala.
Oh no!
And we lose him mid-sentence. It's okay. We're about to finish up here. We have a super chat from Alex. He says, Ian Miles Cheong, I'm adding that in. It's directed at you now. How many factions will be in the second USA Civil War?
I have no idea. I mean, we got to see. It looks like there's a number of them just now coming up. I mean, if you saw the shooting of a police officer in Florida happened to be done by a militia member, but not a white guy. The FNAC, the Not Fucking Around crew, NFAC. Yeah, shot him in the head.
Is that a
shot
real
cop in the
thing?
head. That's a real thing.
yeah.
Yeah, and they're not even BLM. Like these guys are like black supremacists or something.
Oh, those guys. Okay.
Those guys, yeah, the ones who went armed, you know, they were like marching around in all these black jackets and carrying like AR-15s. And one of them accidentally shot the other because they don't know how to use firearms, apparently. I mean, this
Was
is
that
not
the
a
same
stable
group that
crew.
was that the same group that was recently in Tulsa, I believe, during the
Yes.
anniversary of them, and they were like,
That's them.
and they were
Yep.
chanting, you know, we're gonna, or not chanting, but the leader was like, we're gonna kill anybody in sight that's white, or that's some weird.
Kill Whitey.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what they were saying. Yeah, that was them. Yeah, and they mean business. I mean, people. I used to think, oh, that's just like a meme or something. I mean, these guys got to be plants. You know, I mean, they got to be like some right-wing joke or something. No, they're the real deal. I mean, they're
Boogaloo Boys?
actually committing crimes. I mean, they're like a. It's kind of funny. Like the Boogaloo Boys are just like them. You know, I mean, they actually go to marches together sometimes. And they're not on the same team, obviously not. But you will see them both going up against the government. I mean, these guys are anarchists, right? But they're not Antifa. They're not BLM. They're like their own thing. So, you know, who knows where it's going to go from here? It's crazy.
I
And
think
Biden,
the real.
you can't handle
The
it.
real people we need running the country are the Black Hebrew Israelites. I think that's been proven time and time
Those guys
again.
are murderers. Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Those
Oh,
are the
have
ones
they?
that did the Covington thing, right? They were part
Yes,
of the.
they did.
Okay.
Yeah, they did. And they also did the mass shooting at the in Pittsburgh. Was it Pittsburgh or was it
The synagogue?
yeah, one of the synagogues, yeah. Because
That's
you know there were a
Pittsburgh,
few that was a white guy, I think. That was a guy from Gap.com, actually. I'm thinking of another one. I think it might have been Philadelphia. There was a lot of there's like a mixed Jewish black population, and they two of them decided they're going to shoot it up and to kill a bunch of people. Yeah, you don't hear about it much because it goes against the narrative, right? Every time there's a mass shooting, if the shooter's not white, the media just sort of has a memory holes it like a week later. Didn't happen.
Yeah, a week.
StopAsianHate.com.
A week at best, right? I mean, they'll gloss over it in 24 to 48 hours, but because we all know that white supremacy is the greatest. I don't know if it's white supremacy or if it was climate change, right? Because I feel like a week or so went by. It was white supremacy, and then it was climate change. So pick your
Next,
poison.
it's gonna be people not whispering, people not speaking loud enough or something. Do you remember that mass shooting, the one in Colorado? I mean, just to end it.
No,
there,
I don't. I don't remember any of that.
Right. Like it happened on Passover week, right? And all the victims, the majority of them were Jewish, and the shooter was of a certain Middle Eastern descent. And the media just sort of forgot about it the day after because they identified him. At first, they were like, "Oh, it's a white guy. It's a fat, obese white guy, right?"
Yep. Yeah.
And then they find out what his name is. Yeah, just a few months ago. And then the next day, it comes out that this is who he is, and they're like, "Oh, that never happened."
It removes itself pretty fast. And when you read a lot of news articles, you'll notice the pattern of using race not only just to describe people, which I think might be. I think I'm okay with it if it's done for every single person. I'm not. Maybe it just as a descriptor, but statistically, I'm okay with it being done. But when you're using it as a narrative tool, I don't think that's good going either way. I think
has decided to stop naming people, stop identifying them by race even. And UPS now says that when they deliver a package, they're not going to identify the gender or the race of the person that they gave the parcel to. So if you lose something and you call them up, you're like, "Hey, who took my package?" They'll be like, "A person took your package, sir."
a birthing person.
A birthing person.
A chest-feeding birthing person.
They're not even allowed to identify the gender at all. Like they said that, we don't want to discriminate. Okay.
In Justin Trudeau's utopia, there are no genders.
Yeah, I'm moving to FedEx. No more UPS from this point on because I don't want my parcels to go missing, taken by a person, whatever that means.
I'm moving to Taco Bell. They've never let me down. except they don't sell the sauce in Canada. I think it's a good place to end it on Taco Bell. I just want to mention, again, you said something about a week ago, that song by a week ago, that Bobby Shmurda guy went to jail for a song. I bet you that song is not taken off of Spotify. Last words to Ian Miles Cheong. Thank you for joining us today. Anything else to say?
No, just check out my Substack. It's by my name, stillgreat.substack.com, and check out my YouTube. Same thing, youtube.com/stillgreat. There'll be more content. There's only one video up right now, but there'll be more.
I want the video game content voice crack. I want the video game content from you, Ian. I don't know why. I want you to coach me through my games. I'm playing Hitman 3 right now. Eric, last words?
Well, as always, go ahead and check out the book, New York City 2020. I think now more than ever it's relevant, as they have a new mayor that's going to try to, or they're close to getting a new mayor that's going to try to clean up everything. And I don't want to be a downer, but I don't think anything's going to change, at least not for the better. It can all, every time I think New York could get no worse, they managed to do it. So hopefully they'll prove me wrong this time, and I can go back and visit, and there'll be no trash and needles and bums, and hopefully it'll be better, man.
Yang gang, everybody.
Math.